Hello everyone, this is Plankera, and welcome to my universe. Today, we're going to continue rigging Shalom from Path to Nowhere. So, excuse me, throat's still a little bit weird today. But anyway, I was just taking a look at the long diagonal again this morning, and I think I figured out what is bothering me about the eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and try to fix that before I go back to the hair. Ah, yes. Because I swear I'm just always in the hair. Alright. So I kind of noticed that this little piece of her eyelid here was kind of sticking out a bit far. So I figured that if I slid it back a little bit, then that would fix some of the problems that I was having. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Still got a little bit of the rotational issues that I'm not quite sure how to solve. I'll have to think on that a little bit more, a little bit later. But for the time being, I'm just going to stick with touching up this eye area here, and then I'll go back to doing the hair. I figure I can do a lot to kind of perfect things after the hair is done too. Got all the time in the world because I haven't even finished the hair in one corner yet, and there's 3 more to go afterward. So I got plenty of time to figure some of this out. I always like to take a look at it just every day and see if I can think of something else that I just want to try out. But for now, I think that's all the ideas I've got. It's quiet for a second there while I tried to think about if there was anything else I wanted to try real quick. But no, I think this is fine. Yeah, I think it's okay. Okay, I'll try one thing. Half a rotation there. See if that gets rid of some of the rotation from this direction. Yeah, I think it helped a little bit, maybe. Let me make sure the direction here is positive, right? Okay. Yeah, so you can see here, this is where the rotation is. So I wanted to make sure that this was also a positive number. Because if the other one was negative, then that would explain why it was perhaps not looking quite like I was hoping. Oh yeah, it looks like it didn't quite do enough. Might just have to pull some more shenanigans later. But for now, I think I'm gonna go back and take a look at some hair some more. Because I actually did notice something in the hair while I was checking the corner too. In that, I'm not sure if the main bang on the left side here is actually all in the right place. So I want to take a look at everything with some layers hidden, just so I can really focus in on that part of the bang. Yeah, I think there's a little spot near the top going a little bit too far to the left. And if I fix that up here, I'll be able to fix it in the upper left view as well, and hopefully that will get everything that I want. There, try to make that a little bit straighter, because it's pretty straight over here too. I'll start with that and see if I need to make any further adjustments. So far so good here, I think. Let me just add a little bit of extra floofiness here. It's like with the way the head is turning, I think I want to make this little shadow area just a little bit thicker. Because if I think about it in terms of planes, there's like a plane right here, then there's a plane that the highlight is on, and then it turns a little bit more, so there's like a plane right there. So I'm trying to emphasize this one a little bit more, because as the head turns this way, I think we'll see this one a little bit more. So that's the idea. Assuming I can get away with such things. And then the rest is just touching up these changes here. So there we go. So for the past few days, I've been working on my entry for the Path to Nowhere Anniversary Fan Art Contest. And I have been having some trouble here. I have an idea that I really like, and I've been trying to find a way to make it work. And I feel like I've gotten everything on the character drawn the way I want it to be. But man, just figuring out the last bit of composition of where some of the other elements should go, how I should do the lighting, and some of this other stuff. It's like, man, it's just not wanting to come together. So I'll be poking at that today. I have not yet found the point where I'm like, okay, maybe the idea is good, but I just cannot get the execution right. Let's try a different idea. Have not quite found the point of when do I give up and just try a different picture. Never been good at figuring out where that point is. So I'm gonna try for a while longer. See if I can't get something good going there. Because I do think it's a good idea. I rather like it. I look forward to showing it off. Might even post a work in progress once I figure out the last bit of composition. I might post works in progress sometimes, but in general, I just don't like to. I'm a bit shy about it. Because the early points of my pictures always look pretty bad. That's okay, I'm sure that drawing on stream more will lessen that a little bit. But we shall see. But it's like, once I figure out the composition and everything, and I have everything roughly the way I want it, like, at that point it just feels like the entire process is basically done, because I just have to clean it all up. Where sketching ends and where rendering begins is... the line is very thin for me. Because a lot of the time I'm actually just moving things around until the very end. That is one thing that I enjoy about my process quite a bit, is it's very spontaneous. If I decide I want to change something, well, I just go change it. It's very quick, very easy, do not have to ask questions. And I can just try things out, I layer things in such a way that I can just very easily move things around. With only minor edits, and can use transform tools willy-nilly. It's great, I like it a lot. It's another reason I'm hoping to stream more drawing, because I think my process is pretty unique. And hopefully letting people see it will give them some ideas on just things you can try if you're struggling with, I guess, conventional wisdom on how people are supposed to go about drawing. So I remember for such a long time that I was trying really hard to draw with lines and sketch with lines, and start with that very messy sketch and then refine and do some line art and all that, and it just wasn't working. And so I just started putting down blobs of color, thinking in silhouettes and all these other things that I could see more easily, and that worked for me. So I'll be very happy to show that off some more. It's been a while since I've drawn on stream. It's just all been very, well, been buried in hair for the past couple of months. 120 streams in, and we're getting close to finishing the head turns, I think. Terrifying. It's alright, I'll get there. I have all the time in the world. I can take as much time as I need. And if I ever get sick of rigging, I figure I can dedicate a day a week to something else for a little while. Or maybe just do a simple picture for a week. I've got options. As always, I can do what I want. And just lately, I have really wanted to work on this model. It's like, early last week, I was feeling like super sick. And I just came on to do some rigging anyway because I wanted to. No other reason. I just wanted to work on it. I knew I'd be pretty out of it, so... But I just really, really wanted to work on it some more, so I decided, screw it, let's stream anyway. Zero regrets, it was a good time. I had a lot of fun. So while I have all these bits of hair hidden, I'm just checking the diagonal, making sure that everything is moving along the way I want it to. And yeah, so far so good, I think. Yep, I think that's fine. I worry that the front bang here is moving a little bit too high up. Like here it looks fine, but here I see a little bit of squirming kind of around this area right here. I can only describe it as cranial expansion. So I might look at that a little bit before I move on here. I would prefer to avoid cranial expansion in my model. That sounds like it's a little bit scary. Yeah, and I remember why I had it like that. Just because I liked the way this looked. But when I put it down like this, it kinda... You can see it looks like it's shifting downward. That's probably why I had it so high. Let me check this corner here. But this does look way more correct. According to the corner. Or the diagonal, I guess. So I guess that means I should lower it just a little bit over here. I guess her head isn't tilting that far upward. So I don't want to overemphasize this, I suppose. It's a little bit sad, because I did like the way it looked. But sacrifices must be made for the good of all the head angles. No matter how unfortunate it may be. Good news is that once I go to do the upper right, the hair should be in better spots in the cardinal direction, so hopefully I'll have to pull less shenanigans as time goes on. At least until it's time to get to the downward corners, which I'm still very, very scared of. There's still a problem with the downward ones where it looks like her head is like shrinking in size. And it's unfortunate and very scary. It's probably going to take me some time to deal with that. I remember having to deal with that when I was rigging my own model, and I was not sure how to deal with it at the time, and as a result, I just don't really like my downward head turns very much. It's like I try to avoid thinking about what I will fix if I ever redo my model too much, just because I don't think I'm anywhere near ready to do something like that. But it is hard to resist the allure of just like, oh, I could fix all of these things. I could make it so much better. Ideas come into my mind whether I want them to or not. And so I have thought about it quite a bit. What will I do for version 2? We'll see how long I can hold out before I just really want to make version 2 of myself. I have learned a great deal of things from rigging this model, so just the Shalom here. So there's lots of things I want to try now, but there's still a bunch of other science I need to do before I'm ready. I want to learn about tracking. Because I think that's going to be the big key to making better models. And I do plan to do some experiments with Shalom here when it comes time to test all this. I assure you, many, many brain cycles go into thinking about what I can do for the channel here. Many, many. It's alright, I wouldn't have it any other way. Just goes to show that I'm having a pretty good time working on all this. It's an interesting little hobby, I think. I'm glad I decided to try it. Alright, so just fixing up all the little things that I've been seeing while checking this corner here. I'm still worried that the bang is going up a little bit too high. So everything else looks okay. Especially since I move pretty much everything relative to this bang here. But it's like if I move that bang, that does mean I'm going to have to move pretty much everything. Just because I move everything relative to that bang there. But it probably would look a little bit better if I cleaned that up a bit here. Okay. We're going to do some drastic actions. It's a little bit sad because I like the way it looks, but if it's wrong, it's wrong. Let's go. Needs to be a little bit lower here. I will reconnect it to the tunnel once I think I have it in the right place. This truly is a case of you have to be ready to kill your darlings for the sake of your art. Oh man. Just having to redo so much of that. But yeah, that does look better. No, I just need to adjust this curve a little bit. And I get the feeling I'm going to have to adjust a lot of things in the left turn and the upward turn as well, in order to match up with these changes that I'm making here. But I want to double check and make sure that everything here is good before I jump into everything else. So unfortunately this means I'm going to be going back and redoing a bunch of stuff in the front bank again. Oh dear. It's a little bit unfortunate, but I think it's for the best. I want to make everything as good as possible. Yeah, so far so good. So far so good. Alright, before I start jumping back into fixing up the upward turn, let's reconnect everything over here. And then I'll double check this area and make sure that all the rest of the strands are where they should be. That way I can just line everything up with the upward turn perfectly. And it should, with any luck, be fairly straightforward. I say this like I'm not making big changes to a bunch of stuff here. Had to take some drastic measures. It's all very scary, very spooky. And Halloween is already over. Alright, roughly connected, very, very, very roughly. We'll definitely have to clean that up a bit, but enough that I can check on it. Yeah, that's definitely a little bit better. Definitely better. So, I will take that as a win. This is why I check the corner periodically. I don't tend to check the corner while I'm in the process of, like, rigging all the details and stuff, which is why I hadn't done it in a little while. But I find it good to do every morning. Just to make sure that everything is actually lining up the way it should, and that nothing looks like it's growing or shrinking when I do it from the default view, the front view. After all, everything is being transformed from that front view. The front view is ultimately the part that matters. It's the part that I know is completely correct. It is 100% correct, and what I base literally every other part of the model on. Alright, yeah, Bang is looking a lot better. Let's try to make this area look a little bit better too. I felt like it was also growing a little bit. Gonna hide the strand until I know where this hair is going, since it connects to that hair. So I guess today is going to be another day of corrections. Because I imagine that these ones will take me a little while to actually go through and fix. I'm just gonna straighten some things out here and try to line up these curves a little bit better. I'm a little bit sad because I thought I had this entire area just like totally great, but now I'm having to change a bunch of things up because I noticed this problem. I'm a little surprised I didn't notice it sooner. Let me hide that little strand here. Not you. There it is. Okay. Gonna hide that strand. I think some part of me might have noticed it, but when I went and checked it against other parts here, I thought it was fine. But I should have trusted my instincts a little bit more here. Because after all, it was entirely possible that those other areas that I was checking against were also wrong. And that the only area that I know is 100% correct is going to be the front view. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's try to get those looking a bit better here. I think this is another thing that I can take of that this corner, or this diagonal between the corner and the center, is actually much more important than I was giving it credit for when I first started. Okay, I think overall I like the way the highlights are moving. I was just looking around there and seeing if I liked the way that they were moving around, because they were not lining up perfectly, but I think that the way they're moving is actually correct. I want them to move just a little bit, and to kind of really show that the head is turning, and I think the locations that they're moving to are pretty good. Where because the head is moving up, it's becoming a little bit flatter and then a little bit more prominent on the left side. So I think all that is actually correct. Okay. So this part is kind of interesting. I keep forgetting that this is how it works. Where I'm looking right now is like right in here. So underneath this part, it's part of this bang here, where it kind of has this angle and rests on top of this little piece here. But you can see a lot of the area here is just black. But when I go up, it's not just black. And I think it should be more black. But what I forgot about was the reason that area is black is because it's partially covered by this layer. So what I actually need to do is expand this layer a little bit, and I'll get the effect that I want. So let's see here. Yeah, it goes above this piece right here. Wouldn't surprise me if that was the reason why, when I was initially cutting it, I thought that this piece here was part of the front bang, and why it's on that layer. I probably should have cut it out a little bit better there. Alright, and while I check this, I want to make sure that her chin is in frame, so that this way I can make sure that the hair is moving correctly relative to her chin. Right now, it still doesn't quite feel that way. Okay. We're gonna look here again, and I'm gonna see where, relative to this piece here, does this part connect? And indeed, right now I do think it is a little bit too far to the right. So we'll bring him on over. Just bring him on over. My son has been very, very cute lately. In the past, whenever you offered him something that he didn't want, he would just freak out and start shouting and smacking it away. And my dad was trying very hard to teach him that he can just say no thank you. And I believe he has finally gotten the lesson. So when he doesn't want something, now he just says no thank you. And it's so cute. It's so, so very cute. They're learning manners. It's hard to believe. Especially coming from me, who doesn't always put as much stock into a lot of that as I should. It's okay. I'll just say it's all because of Grandpa's efforts. He probably is playing a very large role into why this is happening, so I don't mind giving him all the credit. Man, when I was going through and doing the corners, I was not expecting to have to make this many corrections to the cardinal directions. I knew I'd have to make some, but what I'm doing now is going to be pretty big. But I guess I just had a few strands that were just really off and I never realized it. Well, that's okay. That's the purpose of doing these things. Maybe it's a sign that I should not worry about it quite as much and jump into the corners a little bit sooner. That is definitely something to keep in mind for the future. Especially if I'm feeling stuck, because I do feel like I'm getting a lot of information that I wasn't my first pass through. Because after all of these areas have to meet up in the corners. So it makes sense that I'd be getting a little bit of extra information from them. Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind for future rigging. Because just looking at this, it already feels much stronger than it did before. I'm just gonna have to make a lot of edits to both sides before I can really go in. But at the very least, it means that once I start going for this one, it should be a little bit easier. Because hopefully this top turn will be quite good by that point. I can dream, right? Okay. So I do think that is all looking much better. I'm actually gonna go turn on some other hair. Well, am I? Yeah, let's go turn on the other hair. I was just thinking about whether or not this was the right time to be doing such things. But I think it is, actually. Right now, I'm still just focusing in on the roots. And I'm not worrying about the strands at all. But that was true even when I was working on some of these other parts. So it's fine. I'll just keep focusing in on the roots. And I'll try to get all of these pieces in the right place, and then I'll work backwards and modify the rest to get it to line up to where I want everything to be. So I see something over here with this area, the underneath area, and the top of the front bang there. But I'm not sure what it is that I'm looking at. What is making me strongly dislike what is happening here? The fact that I didn't hate it before I turned on the strands around here kind of suggests to me that it's probably something with the 3 strands that I just turned on. Otherwise, I mean, you'd think that I would have noticed it before I turned all these other layers on. That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't need to adjust this part, but it's just how these parts are moving relative to each other. That's bothering me somehow. I'd be more specific, but I don't actually know what the problem is. Still figuring that part out. It's okay, I'll get there. I'll fix it. Okay, yeah, that was a little bit better. And I think if I just floof out this part right there, we should all be good. And then I can get back to working on the rest of the side bang. The good news is that I still think this one looks good. It's very good news because I worked pretty hard on it and I didn't want to have to fix it again. But I think even moving like this, it looks good. I've been reading a lot of webcomics lately in preparation for potentially writing my own, and I gotta say, I really like the format that's been popularized from Korea. Of the kind of infinite scrolling vertical comics, as opposed to the more traditional book comics that you'd see in most manga and stuff. It's really neat. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with it. I've seen the way people introduce cities, for example, where you start out in the sky, you scroll down and you see the roofs of the houses, and then it shows a roof in a particular way that lets you seamlessly, without leaving a break in the page, just keep scrolling like you're zooming in onto the city, and you just get closer and eventually the character that you're supposed to see comes into frame. It's a really neat framing device. I really enjoy it. And I see it a lot. Also allows for a lot of really neat vertical spreads, and I've even seen people flip the image horizontally, basically, so this way you can still have those wide, sweeping, horizontal scenes as well. I'm glad that I decided to read a whole bunch and just see what I think. See what people are doing, and it's pretty cool. Haven't read that many yet because I haven't had a lot of time, but I've read a couple now, and haven't found too many that I've, like, super enjoyed. I get the feeling that a lot of these people are, like, self-published authors, and for a lot of them, this is, like, their first real serious work. That's kind of the feeling that I get from a lot of them. Nothing wrong with that, of course. But there are certain things that come with experience. But oh man, am I so happy to see that people are able to do this now. Or just, I have a cool idea, I'm gonna upload it to the internet. I think it's wonderful, where you don't have to go through a publisher anymore. It makes the barrier to entry so much lower. Which does mean that we get a lot more people uploading things that maybe isn't ready yet. But at the same time, I think it's for the best. Even if there's a lot more bad stuff, there's going to be a lot more good stuff too. I have come across a couple that I've really liked. I am fully caught up with Unordinary, and I thought that one was really good. A nice little superpower story. The author has some interesting ideas, and I think the way that she presents her characters is very good. Alright. I think this diagonal is looking much stronger than it was before. It looks much more like a turn. I'm still not quite sure how to handle that giant bit in the back. I keep asking myself if I'm sending it too far back. I think I am. If I'm already going to be making extensive changes to the top view here, I might as well make this exactly as I want it. And then I can just line it all up with the top view again. And if I change my mind, I change my mind. I will just fix it again. It's not that big a deal. So right now what I'm looking at is kind of at this corner right here, where I'm not sure if I like the way it's going back. Yeah, I don't think I do. So that tells me that over here should be a little bit further to the left. So what I don't like is just how it's kind of being tucked behind the bang in front of it. It's like, I think it should be behind the bang in front of it. After all, her head is turning to the left here. But maybe I should let a little bit more of it peek out for one. And for two, make sure that, how do I describe? That, it's straighter and moving a little bit more seamlessly. Because you can see, if you look over on this diagram on the right here, you can see where I have my keyframes. And then there's this big space in the middle. And that space in the middle is going to be controlled by the computer, basically. The computer will take what it looks like here and what it looks like here, and kind of guess at how things should be moving around based on that. So I'm going to try to give it a little bit better information so it can make better guesses here. So let's see if that works a little bit better. Oh yeah, so much better. Yeah, and I think it looks a little bit more like her head is tilting backward there as opposed to this just randomly disappearing. So yeah, I guess I just overdid it a little bit. Her head isn't tilting that far back. Alright, and I think once I clean that up, that'll be this whole area fixed. And then I can go back and start fixing up the left and top views again. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Yeah. Okay, there might be a thing or two that I need to fix up, but let's start lining this up with the left head turn. Actually, let me take one more look and make sure I'm happy before I start getting too deep into this because I'm scared. Okay, no, I think we're good. Because I just looked at it and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to make some changes. Changes are going to have to be made. Alright. So what I have to remember is that I can trust here, and I can trust here. And that's what I have to focus on. I cannot be tempted to change things in the corners, even though that's how I'd normally be doing things. Trying something a little bit different here. I guess in this case it's less trying it and more that I found some problems, and now I'm trying to fix those problems. And if I get scared, I could always just double check the diagonal. And indeed, there is something I want to fix in the diagonal. This part I will probably take a little bit slow, just because I really want to make sure I do it right. In this case, I felt like this kind of part in her bang here, this big old shadow, was a little bit too far down. So I went ahead and slid that back up. So we'll check to see if that's a little bit better. Yeah, I think so. Might have slid it a little bit too far up, but I'm gonna check that a few times. But no, I think it's good. Do I like the way the highlight's moving? Yeah, I think the highlights are moving pretty well. Let me bring the corner of this one up just a little bit here. I think that'll help make things look a little bit better there. Okay, I feel like there's a little lump there, so I'm gonna try to work that out before I move on. What is causing a little lump here? It's very strange, because it's like not quite on the line, which normally is what causes lumps like that. Alright, let's consult the mesh. I suppose it would help if I had the mesh selected. There we go. Consult the mesh and see what's causing it to panic a little bit. Okay. Man, but there's still just this lump right there. And yeah, I can still see it when I zoom out. And it's kind of on the original. Okay, maybe I'm worrying a little bit too much. Let's look. Let's take a look. Okay, yeah, I guess it's not so bad. Yeah, not bad at all. Okay, so I was just worrying too much. That's fine, that happens sometimes. I have learned not to worry about me worrying too much. Because believe it or not, I did used to worry about worrying too much. Life is funny like that. Okay. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I think I can be happy with that. Okay, so if I'm happy with that, let us revisit the left head turn. And try to get everything back into place here. Fortunately, it looks like there's not a lot that's super out of place. Perfect. No, that's really good. It means that all of the changes I made further up are probably good, and there are probably just a lot of small things that I just could never see. That, and to be fair, most of the problems that I saw with these areas lining up was actually with the top view, not the left view. So, that's why I did the left one first. I figured it'd be a little bit less scary. So far, it seems I am correct. Because this one's not scary at all. Well, that makes me happy. Alright, so I'm gonna go check the angles here, and it looks like this actually connects in a fairly smooth fashion. So I'm gonna try to have that smooth transition here too. I'm actually kind of surprised that I didn't originally. I must have been trying something that didn't work out. That's one of those things that happens sometimes. Not all experiments work out the way you expect. That's why they're experiments. Because after all, if you already know the answer, there's no need to test it. There's no need to experiment at all. The experiment is just there to simply confirm the hypothesis. And sometimes it can be wrong. Okay. So that's a little bit smoother of a transition there. So hopefully that'll just tilt back perfectly. Not quite. But I think that's actually a problem up here. Or is it? Yes. Okay. It's a problem up here, just in a place where I can't see, which is why I wasn't worried about it. But because I'm worried about the space between the two keyframes right now, and how it was moving there, we'll just bring this a bit closer to the edge there. It's not super important how it looks, as long as it's in a slightly better spot, and I get a better interpolation here. Yeah, there we go. Man, interpolate is such a good word. I really enjoy it. Just sounds so funny. Okay, there we go. Yeah, and everything here seems to be lining up just fine. That's pretty awesome. So here I just noticed a little thing with the underneath layer here. I felt like the lighter colors in here were moving up a little bit too much. I even checked the diagonal, and indeed it was a problem with the corner, not with the left head turn. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay. Check the diagonal again. Make sure that there's no issues here. So that kind of means that anything that I see an issue with is probably with the left head turn itself. Okay. So the area that I'm looking at now is the tunnel area. So I'm going to check the diagonal one more time, but I think the way it's moving along there is quite nice. Which means I just want the tunnel to be slightly larger on the left head turn. That is very doable. I can tell that I must have learned a lot about rigging since I rigged my personal model, because I don't remember doing a lot of these basic things when I was rigging that. So hopefully this does mean that when I get around to making a version 2, that it'll look a lot better. I'm honestly kind of excited to work on it, but I think that'll be for another time. I think I want to make a couple more models first. My brain just gets very excited about things and it wants to do all the things, and then it realizes, well, shoot, there's not enough time in the day and I still have to sleep. I really didn't want to go to bed yesterday. Left me perhaps a bit tired today, but I just had so many things I want to do. I wanted to work on the composition for my Path to Nowhere anniversary contest entry, and I wanted to well, mostly that. Wanted to go for a walk, but I did go for a walk, so that was good. I was at least good there. Well, there's just so many things I want to do. It's so hard to decide what to do. I wish I didn't have to sleep. Sleeping is so boring. And yet here I am, having to waste 8 hours every day just flopping, being unconscious. Even if I get the occasional interesting dream. Well, probably more than occasional. I actually dream most nights and I remember most of them. But, even with that, it's just not worth it, man. Just want to be awake forever. I'd also strongly appreciate it if there were, like, you know, maybe like 70 hours in a day instead of 24. And I could do more things, and... Can we just be immortal, please? Just gotta send a request to God real quick. Get rid of mortality. Medical science is being too slow. Hello there, Caravet. How are you doing today? Right now, I've just been rigging hair. So much hair. So right now I'm just checking along the diagonal, because when I checked that this morning, there were some problems. And I fixed a lot of them, and now things look a lot better. So that was very nice. Oh, thank you. It's okay, I've just been working on it for a very long time. And there is a surprising amount to rigging, so don't worry if it takes some practice to really get the hang of it. So much of this is just in these tiny, tiny details that you won't necessarily spot right away. But if you ever want to show me what you have, I'd absolutely love to see it. See, right there, I was looking around trying to find what this weird thing that was bothering me was, because I was having some trouble identifying it. And it turns out that there's this little pink highlight on the hair just right over here that I didn't even see. And it was not in the right place. And so now it should be better. Yep, that's what it was. Just this teeny, teeny, tiny pink highlight right here. Even pointing it out, I barely see it. Well, that's just kind of how rigging is. It's a very complicated process. Or, I guess more accurately, the process is fairly simple, but the amount of things that you have to pay attention to is high. So here, I noticed that there were, when I was checking the diagonal, so going from the center over to the corner, I noticed that there were some issues. And so now I'm going back to correct my left and upward head view in order to match up with the change that I made in the corner. I just finished the left because that one looked simpler and I was less afraid of it, so now it's time to go into the scary one, which is the upward head turn. So I had to move the front bang quite a bit in order to get it to line up with the diagonal properly. didn't have to move it around so much to get the corner to line up with the left head turn, but I get the feeling I'm gonna have to move things around quite a bit to get the corner and the upward head turn to match up again. Yeah. Alright. And periodically I do go through and check just to make sure that I have the corner lining up the way I want to, because I get the feeling that there will be things here and there that I want to fix up. Like right now, where this shadow is not quite right. Getting a little bit too round out there. Gotta flatten it up just a little bit here. Okay. So here I was checking, like there's some highlights and shadows on it, like right up here. And they were going upward. Oh no. Oh, well that's too bad. I mean, it's hard, but it's something that can be learned. So that's where I kind of encourage you to take it slow and see what you can figure out. When you're... I assume this is your first time rigging something, right? So the first time is really hard, because there's just so much to do and so much to figure out. Well, I hope you try again. I think it's pretty fun to do once you get the hang of it. But pretty rough until you do. If you have any questions, I am more than happy to answer them for you. Assuming you're working in Inochi2D. Because I have never properly used Live 2D myself, so... don't quite know how that one works or how they're different. And there's just so much detail in the bangs here. I'm trying to figure out which parts need to move. So there is some sliding going on here. Okay. Right now I'm having to look very, very carefully. Because... let's see here. There's like... when I move her head to the left here, there's like some spots in the bangs just like right through here that are moving downward. Even though the very bottom of the tips is lining up correctly, I think. And I'm trying to figure out which area has it wrong. And which one do I need to fix? Right now it's looking like a little bit of both. Okay. This isn't surprising. I had to do some big movements in the bangs earlier today. So it's not too surprising to me that some of them aren't lining up quite right. Okay, that's a bit better. So I think I can trust the upper left when it comes to that specific area. So anything that looks weird on the upward head turn now I know is probably wrong. I think I'm gonna fix up the bang for a bit here, hopefully make all the changes to get the tips the way I want them. And that will probably be where I need to stop for today. Starting to get hungry. Here it's looking like while I was moving things around that some things throughout here just got a little bit stretched out while I was pulling the tips down. Again, not too surprising because I did a bunch of very large movements with the brush. So right now the area that I'm trying to line up is like there's a little shadow that kind of comes through here. And this little white area that digs in there. And I'm trying to line those up now. It was a bit lower in the upper left turn. So now I'm just trying to line them up again. And it's like her hair just has so many tiny little details that I need to line up, so I always take these things real slow. That's why it's taking me forever to do the head turns. But I think it's worth it, because I think the head turns are coming out really nice because I'm willing to take my time like this. Do everything I can to just get it all just right. Okay, but so far so good here. So far so good. So the part that I was looking at now, where it's the part where the kind of purple color turns into white. So this little transition here, it looked like it was moving down a bit when I turned her head. I'm actually going to zoom out a bit and make sure that all these turns are lining up with her jaw as well. Alright. Sounds good. I've never personally done frame-by-frame animation myself. I've only done stuff like this in the occasional... Well, I guess that's not true. I did a little bit of frame-by-frame stuff when I was really young, but it was super basic, and I never really picked it up after that. But, yeah. For me, it's mostly just been this. Frame-by-frame animation is neat, though. The stuff that people can do is really, really cool. I always enjoy seeing what people put together. Okay. So it looks like the shadow steel here still needs to be a little bit lower. Jumping around a bit. 1, because it's near the end of the day, and 2, I'm just kind of grabbing whatever spots that I see that bother me. Just because they're all so small. I have to kind of pick out which ones I can actually manage to see. Okay. Gray area right here needs to be a little bit lower. And everything will probably carry on like that. As always, the bang tends to be one of the slower parts. Because not only is it's like right between her eyes, it's like the most important part of her hair. So I'm more particular about it than I am a lot of others. But on top of that, it's also one of the more detailed bits of hair in this model, so very important to get right. Very important to get right, and there's a lot to it. So naturally, the process is a little bit slow. That's okay, that's kind of why I wanted to get at least this part done today. So this way I can just focus on fixing up the the rest of the upward head turn tomorrow. Okay. It's getting there. I think I'm actually going to hide her eye for a second. Just because when I move over, I see the eye kind of peeking through her bangs in a few spots. And it's making it a little bit hard to tell if things are in the right place here. I think I'll have an easier time if I just hide the eye for just a little while. So I'll have an eyeless Shalom for a moment. So here, even though I do think that this area is mostly correct, I didn't like the way that the hair was kind of turning the wrong direction. So I figured I'd fix it in the upper left first. But yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah. A couple of areas here that aren't quite right. I also had to pull the bangs down here, using a big motion from the brush. So I'm not surprised that there are just a couple of tiny things around the tips that I missed. There's a surprising amount of detail in just the little tips of her hair here. Look at all those little lines and all these little color changes. There's so many of them. And that's why editing the tips is not free. There's a lot of little things to pay attention to. Don't worry, little details, I see you all. I'll get all these little things into the right place here. Okay, I think this is where I compare it to the default here. Yeah. So what I was looking at there was this highlight right here. Wanted to see if it was in the right place and if it was the right shape. But it needs to be a little bit lower and a little bit straighter. And I think fixing this part is probably going to be the last thing I do for today. Then I'm gonna go grab myself some food. I am indeed getting hungry. Alright, a little bit better. That just straightened it out a little bit at the top there, and I think all will be well. Okay, yeah, that's looking much more like the default front view there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, is it lining up? Mostly, yes. We'll see what the me of tomorrow thinks. I'm just gonna leave her with one eye for now, since that is where I'm working, and I think that is where I will end for today. So, thank you all for coming. If you'd like me to take a look at your own creative projects, whether that be art, writing, coding, game design, or any creative pursuit you can think of, feel free to message or at me on the social media platform of your choice, and I will take a look, maybe leave some comments. I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.